Right now, if you have not eaten in the last 2 hours, something has already started inside your cells. And most people will go their entire lives without knowing what it is. Most people think of fasting as the body running on empty. It is not. It is closer to the opposite. After a certain number of hours without food, your body does not shut down. It switches mode. Systems that cannot run while you are eating start coming online. Processes that your cells have been queuing up, waiting for the window, begin. By the end of this video, you will never think about hunger the same way again. But hour 12 is not where this gets strange. The process that starts at hour 12 is just the opening act. Your digestive system starts reacting to a meal within seconds of swallowing. The small intestine begins absorbing, the liver begins processing. Your pancreas releases insulin, which tells your cells to take in the GLY-cogen arriving from that meal. For the next 2 to 4 hours, depending on what you ate, your body is running on that fuel. And while it is doing that, any glucose it does not immediately need goes into storage. Think of it like this. Your liver is a short-term fuel tank. It can hold roughly 100 grams of GLY-cogen, which is glucose packed tightly together, ready to be released quickly when needed. Your muscles have their own smaller reserves, but the liver is the main one, and it has about 12 hours of fuel for your brain at rest. Everything in this video is for educational purposes only, Heinz. Always talk to your doctor before making any changes to your health or lifestyle, especially around eating patterns. BodyVault AI uses AI-powered 3D visualization to explain what science already knows about the human body. We are here to educate, not prescribe. When you stop eating, your body starts drawing from that tank. Hour 1, insulin falls. The liver begins releasing glucose. Nothing dramatic. The system is just running normally between meals, exactly as it was designed to. Hour 2. Same process, continuing. Hour 4. The liver is still supplying. Most of your cells have shifted comfortably to the stored fuel. You are not hungry yet in the way most people recognize. You are coasting. But around hour 6, the rate of draw begins to change. And by hour 8, something different starts. So what actually happens inside your cells when the last of the GLY-cogen runs out? The answer is not what most people expect. Around hour 12, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later, your liver glycogen supply runs low. At this point, your body has options, and the one it reaches for first surprises most people. It does not immediately start breaking down muscle. That is a common misconception. What it does instead is shift to fat. Your fat cells, which have been storing energy since the last time you ate more than you burned, begin releasing fatty acids into the bloodstream. Your liver converts some of these into molecules called ketones. And ketones are a fuel source your brain can run on when glucose is scarce. Think of it like this. Your body has 2 fuel tanks. A small, fast-access one in your liver, and a much larger long-term reserve in your fat tissue. Most people live almost entirely out of the small tank. Fasting gives the large tank a reason to open. Did you know your liver stores roughly 100 grams of GLY-cogen, enough fuel to power your brain for about 12 hours? After that, your body has to find another way, and the next way it finds is considerably more interesting. By hour 12, something else has also started. Something smaller, quieter, and considerably more surprising than the fuel switch. Your cells have begun a process of internal recycling, not just metabolizing stored fat, recycling themselves. Here's what that means at the level of a single cell. Every cell in your body accumulates damaged proteins over time. Bits of molecular machinery that are broken, misfolded, or simply worn out. While you are eating, while insulin is high, the cellular environment is in a growth and building state. The body is taking in materials, assembling structures, making new things. It is busy. It does not have bandwidth for extensive internal maintenance. When you stop eating and insulin falls, a different signaling environment takes over. And in that environment, a pathway inside the cell gets activated that was not accessible before. It is called Autophagy. And what it does is something no pharmaceutical, no supplement, and no external intervention has successfully replicated. The cell essentially builds a small membrane sac around a damaged component, wraps it up, and then fuses that sac with a cellular organelle called a lysosome. The lysosome dismantles the damaged component and the parts get reused. But here is where it gets really interesting, because scientists only gave this process a name in 1974, and the researcher who named it won a Nobel Prize for it in 2016. Yoshinori Osumi spent the 1980s watching yeast cells eat themselves under a microscope. Not because he thought it would matter, because nobody else was looking at it, and he was curious about what happened inside cells when they were starved. What he found was that yeast cells, when deprived of nutrients, did not simply wither and die. They turned inward. They began a systematic program of dismantling their own damaged or non-essential components, recycling the raw materials, and using them to sustain the most critical cellular functions. The scale of what this involves is worth pausing on. Inside a single cell, which is roughly 1/100th of a millimeter wide, this process involves membrane structures forming spontaneously around targets, then fusing with organelles, then breaking those targets down into usable components, all within hours. The precision of the molecular machinery involved is difficult to overstate. Think of it like this. Imagine a city that during the working day is in full construction mode. Materials coming in, new buildings going up, and then late at night a different crew comes out, not to build, to dismantle the broken structures, recycle the materials, clear the debris that has been quietly accumulating since the last time they had the chance. That crew cannot operate while the construction crew is working. The building state and the recycling state are mutually exclusive. The signal that switches between them is insulin. When insulin is high, after eating, the cell is in building mode. When insulin is low, after not eating for long enough, the recycling crew gets the signal. Did you know that the word autophagy comes from the Greek for self-eating, and the scientist who discovered it, Yoshinori Osumi, spent years studying it in yeast cells before anyone thought it was relevant to humans? Every cell in your body runs a version of the same process. This is not a minor cellular event. Research suggests autophagy plays a role in maintaining the quality of proteins and organelles across different tissue types. It appears to be most active in liver cells, muscle cells, and neurons, the cells with the highest metabolic demands and therefore the highest rate of damage accumulation. And the rate at which it runs is not fixed. It ramps up the longer the fasting window extends. The most significant induction appears to occur somewhere in the range of hour 16 to hour 24 in studies using human cells and tissue, though the exact timing varies between individuals. What that means in practice is that the body has a threshold. Below it, autophagy is background noise. Above it, it becomes a primary program. And scientists only confirmed in the last decade how precisely the body times this, and it changes everything about what we think hunger actually is. Here is the thing about hunger that most people do not know. The physical sensation of hunger peaks and then passes. Most people who have fasted past the 12-hour mark report that the hunger they feel around hour 8 or 9, the most intense part, does not keep intensifying. It plateaus. Then, often around hour 12 to 14, it actually decreases. That is not willpower, it is biology. Around hour 12 to 14, Ghrelin, the primary hunger signaling hormone, follows a natural wave pattern and dips. Your body is not trying harder to make you eat. It has shifted programs. This is why some people who have extended their eating window find that the experience of fasting gets easier past hour 12, not harder. The body has made its metabolic switch. The cellular maintenance program is running. The urgency decreases. Some research has explored associations between this shift and certain subjective reports of mental clarity during fasting, though findings are mixed and likely depend on individual metabolic differences. What is consistent across studies is that the fuel switch to KE-tone metabolism does occur, and KE-tones are a measurable, usable fuel source for the brain. Your body has a built-in cellular recycling system. It finds damaged proteins, malfunctioning cell components, and molecular debris, dismantles them, and uses the parts to build new cellular structures. It has been doing this your entire life, every time you give it enough time without food. Most people have never heard the word for it. Scientists call it autophagy, and it is running in your cells right now, if you have not eaten in the last 12 hours. Did you know? Your body runs a brief version of this same cellular recycling process every night during sleep, which is why researchers have found associations between sleep quality and cellular health markers. Fasting and sleep may be running overlapping biological programs. If you watched our video on the science of sleep, this is the same principle operating in a different context. Which brings us to the thing that surprised us most in building this video. Every time you go to bed and sleep for 8 hours, your body has been running a version of this process without you knowing it. Every time you have skipped breakfast without planning to, or gone a little longer between meals than usual, your cells have been quietly doing maintenance work that the eating state does not allow. Your body has not been fighting fasting. It has been waiting for it. The word autophagy is Greek for self-eating. But a better translation might be self-restoring, because that is what your body was built to do, given the chance. Next week, we are going inside your dopamine system, and what we found about how the modern world has rewired the way your brain releases it is even more surprising than this.